Today I have Dr. Usman Gajigo, who is actually on his fourth time here, I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. One of which was after he had launched into politics and started the process of registering a political party. What's the name of the political party?
It's PPA,
PPA.
yes, Patriotic Progressive Alliance. I mean, it's not yet registered yet, so
but it's in the process.
It's in the process, so it's only a political party if it's registered. So for now, you can think of it as a movement.
Exactly. Yes. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Today, I want us to look at, of course, I'm sure you must have watched an interaction journalists, including myself, have had with the Minister of Finance at the joint press conference with the International Monetary Fund.
Right.
The mission chief visited the staff monitored program. What in fact is a staff monitored program?
Well,
they never get to explain this to us in detail.
Well, I've never worked at the IMF itself,
okay,
but you know, basically these sort of facilities are given to government where basically their public finance system is not going well. This extended credit facility, it is to assist a country to get its house together. Yeah. It's a loan you have to pay back, but it also comes with certain conditions you have to do, which is why I guess, as you can see in that press conference, the IMF mission, they emphasize the commitments that the Gambia government at least committed to doing, which is making sure that they are fighting corruption, they are mobilizing resources, they are not wasting resources. So when a country is doing very well, number one, you don't go to IMF. And even if they give you some assistance, they don't come and tell you go and work on your strengthen your anti-corruption efforts. They will tell you that when they are convinced you have a serious corruption problems in your hand, and currently your existing mechanisms in place are insufficient, they don't have any trust in you, so they are now pressuring this government to make sure that they get National Assembly to make sure that the national, the anti-corruption commission comes into being. It is well constituted.
And start operation
and start operating, because they don't have any confidence that this government is it's safeguarding its resources well.
In fact, it did tell them a number of issues, which is, among other things, also asking the central bank to stay off issuing guarantees for private companies and public institutions. Some of which we have recently highlighted in the Republic's publications. Let's look at the issues that came up in the press conference in detail. The first issue is the so-called Russian oil scandal.
Right.
Now, we've particularly done a story about this. It's unfortunate Keita was talking about it as though it's nuclear physics, and that people with mere mortals don't understand it.
Right.
It's so complex. So the first issue with that is the issue of the source of the product. It came from Novorossiysk, Russia. Some of us who had traced the shipment was able to confirm that.
Right.
And then it was brought here, so it's a sanctioned product. And we know the the depot had its own rules where that prevents it from dealing with sanctioned products. What do you first, just your impression about the entire scandal in itself? Just a summary of your own understanding of
No, I mean, when the scandal came out, when the Republic broke the story, I mean, it was a real scandal because it had all of the ingredients of a scandal. You had clear cases here where multiple laws were broken, the regulations were broken. There was a case of corruption, in the sense that people were getting paid off at high level. Some well-meaning young officers in FIU and police wanted to look into the matter to find out what was happening, but higher ups came in and completely killed the case. So I mean, it had basically all, I mean, so and what made this relevant, I guess, in the case of IMF was that there was an opportunity where even, through the sale of this oil, government could have received a significant amount of tax revenue. But instead of the government receiving anything in tax revenue, we got nothing. But at the same time, private individuals were getting thousands of dollars in their bank account. They were being paid on the side to make sure that this company gets money out, through money laundering quickly. No tax was paid, and also, basically, throughout the process, makes a mockery of any laws we have in terms of anti-money laundering, in terms of being respectful of international law. Yeah. So
you see, I mean, we look at Apoji, for example. $30 million worth of fuel was brought into the country. Okay? And it's supposedly an international trader. Yet, Stanley Aremos, which is the managing director of the company, had flown in.
Was based in the Gambia.
Was based here.
Exactly.
Not only was he based, they started the process of registering a company.
Yes.
They filed a licensing already with Pura, even though it was not approved.
Yes.
Until the whole thing started falling apart. Now, we look at the international trader tradition. So, for example, we have companies that are international, like PSTV, Trafigura, Adax. They brought fuel, but when they do, they are based in Dubai and other places. They send in here. It's at the depot. When the local OMCs buy from them, they contact the depot. The depot issues a release to them, and those people, they pay their money. They pay the throughput agreement with the depot. And then they take their fuel. These ones, they were here.
No, this one is a bit different. So that's here. That's one of the things that should have raised a flag. So here you have, instead of working through those established open processes, they came in. The company itself came in and registered. On top of that, it created two shell companies. That on paper, it looked like those are the ones that are, so that they'll create more space between these people who are, by the way, the people who own that oil and Apoji, they are already under international sanctions. So they probably wouldn't have been able to work with established companies like ADAX and others. So they came in, again, this, as you pointed out, they came in and established shell companies. And made it appear as if it's the shell company that is selling the oil. But we know the shell company didn't sell the fuel, because at the end of the day, Apoji's man on the ground made sure that when the oil was sold, all the funds were completely taken out of the country. So those few individuals whose name were on the shell company, they were left here basically with no amount. In fact, they had a falling out because they didn't get access to any money. So we know in reality, they didn't own the oil.
They didn't own the oil.
So if they had owned the oil, when the sales had happened, they would have been in control of the money.
In fact, it was said, it's clear from the transactions on the bank account that all the transactions are conducted by Apoji.
Exactly.
Apoji's man, Stanley, was the one conducting all the transactions. He was not even a signatory to the accounts.
So in fact, this goes completely contradicted completely what the Minister C.D. Keita said during the interview. Because he said Apoji was not registered in the Gambia, was an offshore company, which is completely false. It's contradicted by what actually happened. So the information he gave, he literally stood before the country and gave us complete fiction.
And the interesting thing is that they are so fixated on two companies that they know had no money. And even if you go after them, GRA said they have raised the best of judgment, whatever, Yankuba. And in fact, Yankuba is interesting. Yankuba contradicted CD himself. You know, CD says there was no tax liability. He went into pretending as though what the journalists and other people are saying about taxes, that no tax was paid. So that means no tax was paid even at the pump. It's as though other people don't have sense. And so he said, Yankuba came in to say, well, there was a best of judgment assessment, and we held that Creed and Ultimate had tax areas. But we know Creed and Ultimate have no money. zero money, and they will not pay tax until Ilayomidi.
They have zero money because they have zero product.
Yes.
I mean, the only thing those two companies are obligated to do under Gambian tax law is if you create a company, at least you submit a statement. But you can say there was zero activity, zero revenue, and therefore you will not get assessed any tax. Yeah. So, I mean, even before the GRA Dawo came to contradict the minister himself was contradicting himself. Because he's on apparently either his understanding of tax in general, which is basic public finance, I mean, as I pointed out in my other commentary, public finance is a key part of ministry's finance job. If you are a minister and as confused, whether deliberately or unwittingly confused about tax issues, this would be a major concern to every Gambian. First of all, based on fact, Mr. Keita's comments were completely incorrect, and based on the concept of tax, tax incidence or tax liability, he was completely off base. So you can put all sort of tax on fuel, whether it's excise tax or VAT. Yes, people who buy fuel, they will be what they pay includes tax. But when we talk about tax liability, things like corporate income tax, that is based on earnings. If you conduct a business, you earn income, that tax is based after you net out all of your expenses, that income you earn, that tax is assessed on that. So if you are a company that has brought a product in the country that is as highly valued as $30 million, that's close to $2 billion. I mean, your tax liability is huge, and we're talking about a capital-intensive product where you don't have thousands of people working for you. So your net profit there is huge. So the tax liability of that company is significant. So a country that is currently struggling with high debt, high deficit, it means that you as a Minister of Finance, you have failed in your responsibility in doing basic resource mobilization. And when that happens under such a very suspicious circumstances, where there is sanction busting, there's money laundering, there's even greater concern.
And in fact, the money laundering has been confirmed by Central Bank. Not only confirmed by Central Bank, but the Central Bank said they have fined these two companies $200,000. Two banks $200,000. But why do you think this is the case? Why do you think they are so like, why do you think they so don't want to talk about Apoji?
Because
they are so fixed on
those two shell companies. No, because it's here we know there's corruption involved. Because once you talk about Apoji, a lot of uncomfortable questions will be asked. First of all, you will start, they must know where this oil came from. They will know who are the real owners. And then we'll start asking, why was Apoji paying some senior government officials? Why were senior officials pressuring investigation units at the police from
to let the guy go, Stanley Zarema?
Yes. Why was Apoji's representative immediately released? So right now, this government officials.
And why was the depot giving them a monopoly? And even I hold their press conference, government press conference, the response to Gala, and they said there was no monopoly given. But this is grossly false, because in fact, not only was the depot filled to the brink, the depot was filled, and that is why they moved the remaining diesel to Castle's own GPS. If the depot was not filled, they would not have moved to GPS.
And the other local OMCs wouldn't have complained.
Yeah,
some of them including Oil and others.
Yes. And so there was so much irregularity.
But going back to your question here, the reason why you have to understand right now, the interest of Apoji and its real beneficial owners and those of our corrupt officials who are not doing their job, now their interests are aligned. Because once you go and focus on Apoji, you'll find out a lot of things about Apoji that it will reveal that Apoji is engaged in illegal activity. And our senior officials At best, the only thing they can claim here, the best story they can claim here would be that ignorance. They didn't know that this was a company engaging in illegal activity, engaging in money laundering, and that's why they assisted. That's the best. But even then, that's just going to say
let's look at all the anomalies that happen. Yes. So, for example, one, the FIU flagged Apoji's transaction in Apoji came into the Gambia the shipment arrived in April. Yes. Okay, by April 30th, they were finished. The product was in the depot. Yes. By June, they started discharging. Yes. FIU raised a red flag on their transactions because they started at financial activity by October. They were fully in operations. Right. FIU flagged an activity by October 2023. Okay? The central bank only visited the banks in August 2024. Yes. August 2024. Yeah. That's when the when the parliamentary inquiry, not even after our story. Yes. That's when the parliamentary inquiry summoned them.
Exactly.
The police started an investigation. They received a call, reportedly order from the top to stop. Yes. And we don't know who that order from the top came from. The GRA did not go after Apoji. They waited until Creed Energy sued Apoji and Access Bank, I think, yes. Access Bank, yes, to court. They pretended to be part of that suit, yes, to get their tax.
Exactly.
8 million tax, whatever that is. Okay? They didn't, even at that point, they didn't go after Apoji.
Right?
Okay? And so, I mean, with the Pure knew two things. One, Apoji was not legally registered to trade in petroleum products in the Gambia.
Yes.
Neither are the two other companies, Ultimate Verge and Creed Energy. Exactly. They were also not licensed to trade. So that means they were illegally operating. They were not fined, yes, not one butut. Like all of the things that happened. I mean, why do you think this happened and still Apoji was let go because Apoji wraps up finally in 2024. Okay? Why do you think almost 1 year?
Because again, like I said, the interests of Apoji and that's of the senior corrupt officials were aligned. Apoji had an illegal product that they wanted. They needed a country where they can come and sell it, and senior officials wouldn't ask any questions and let them get away with it and get their money out. In any other serious country, if you try to do this, there were ample opportunities to stop the oil or seize the funds from selling of the oil.
Yeah.
Our government had opportunity to prevent the oil from coming in. Or even, let's say things had failed at that point, the oil had come in. They had multiple opportunities to realize here is a company illegally dealing in oil, and they are trying to illegally sell it in the country. And if we allow this to happen, this is going to be effectively money laundering. They had multiple opportunities to seize the oil, or even after the oil had been sold, to seize the proceeds before it is taken outside. Because an amount of 30 million, you cannot move that out of the country without the regulatory authorities of the central bank being aware of it. Even much fractions of that amount, the central bank would have been aware of it. Raised, and that money should have been seized completely, not just the tax liability, but even, so at least if let's say the people in GRA are doing their part, they are not complicit here, they could at least say, okay, fine, we will assume that it was registered, so at least let us tax them what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But all of that, they waited until the money had completely left.
Yeah.
So now you have only the few people who were used to set up the shell accounts were left. They themselves, by the time they realized the money had left, so they are trying to get some money from Apoji, and now the government now is using those shell companies to make it appear that they are doing something.
Yes.
Because the more they focus on those shell companies, the less we talk about Apoji. Because that shell company didn't own the product.
Yes.
Because they didn't own the product, that's why the money from the sales of the product was able to leave the country and go. Because if they owned it, they would have taken control of it. They wouldn't be showing Apoji.
Yeah.
So here right now, the government is focusing on those two shell companies, mainly because it makes shows that their own involvement and complicity in the arrival and operation of Apoji gets swept under the rug.
And in fact, the parliament even held that the so-called policy that was issued at the height of this crisis by the minister.
By Minister Job.
Yes.
Yes.
That policy, one did not follow the normal procedure.
Absolutely. And the permanent secretary at the time.
Yes. Said
so.
Yes, said so. And not just that, but also that policy came to sort of anomalize the anomalies
after the fact
created. Yeah, after the fact.
Basically, they were trying to cover their tracks.
Yes.
The minister at the time was trying to cover his track.
Yes. So isn't there enough evidence for someone to be held responsible? Like in the first place, why did someone call to prevent the police to investigate? Because the police were clear in their submission to the parliament that an order from the top. Why did you stop the investigation? Order from the top.
No, that's because I mean there are a lot of people who should have been held responsible. Here allowing the oil to come in. Allowing the this sanctioned oil to arrive, allowing the setting up of these things, making sure allowing them to operate even though they didn't get license from Pura, allowing them to sell the product that they own without any without paying any tax, allowing the money to leave the country, without doing the due diligence on its source, basically, the fact that when the few lower level officials at FIU and the police started looking, the fact that the thing was closed, that tells you all the answer you need. There were people at the top level of this government, including basically at the Ministry of the Minister of Petroleum at the time, people at Gun Petroleum, people at the Ministry of Interior, high levels at the police. There were complicit people at the top of these institutions that were involved, that were benefiting from this transaction. So in other words, the government itself that should have done its part, they themselves are corrupt and complicit. So we shouldn't be surprised that nothing is coming out of it under this regime.
And if you look at the issue of the claims that are coming out, they said the parliament said, she said in that press conference, the parliament said all the allegations could not be proven.
First of all, the parliament is not a court.
Yes.
The parliament does an inquiry to get a lot of information, compel testimonies from people who might not be willingly coming out. In fact, if the government had done its job, there would be no role in a parliament inquiry. Yeah. Just like we talked about, we've had a commission of inquiry on the Jammeh assets. Government was supposed to take actions. They did not. They were complicit in committing further crimes. There was a National Assembly commission on this only because the government failed to do it. It's not the government's role to prove. It's not the National Assembly's role or responsibility to prove a crime. The National Assembly is not a court of law. They are supposed to shed light, raise questions. It is the government's job to bring a case, do the necessary investigation, build a criminal case, a case that is able to withstand scrutiny, take it to a court of law, and then let the judgment be. If the government doesn't do its job, that proven beyond a reasonable doubt is not going to happen. So it's like that joke about somebody killing his parents and then talking about, oh, have mercy on me, I'm an orphan, my parents are gone.
Yeah. So the issue, I think, what do you think? Because at this point right now, the government is adamant that they sort of trying to paint so badly an atmosphere that everything is okay. Like nothing was wrong with the Russian oil scandal, all the things that are like Pura failed to do anything. Gun Petroleum failed to do anything. Central Bank until much later, like until this year. There was no police failed to do anything. I mean, and government, shouldn't the people in these places who have failed to do their jobs? Because economic crime is not just stealing money. It's also action or inaction that cause financial loss to state.
Commission and omission, failure to undertake, failure to perform.
Yes.
Yes.
It's economic crime. Now, shouldn't at the very least people lose their jobs? Like
that's
the very least.
Like I said in previous comments, in a serious government, issues like this, when they come up, even before you do investigations, some people should be losing their job. This is not an isolated case. So we should be surprised if we see action taking place. There are a lot of cases with this government where there are clear cases of wrongdoing. Not just failing to prevent something from happening. It means clear cases of senior government officials being complicit. And this is not the only minister. Mr. Job is not the only minister where there is, there have been incidents where he's complicit. You have other members of cabinet. So this is a clear pattern. This government is corrupt to the core, at all levels, to the very top. So it is not surprising that they are not taking actions here, because if everyone is complicit, why would you, once you start going after one, questions will be asked of the other. So complicit. So the problem here, just in a nutshell, is a systemic problem. So when it's a systemic one, it infects every level of government. So
in other words,
you can't go after individual. It's not individual corruption. It's a systematic. This is a systemic problem. It's a government that's corrupt to the core. The only solution here is just sweeping completely and starting over.
Because if you, so you are saying if you hold anyone to account, so it's sort of, as they say, threat of injustice, justice anywhere. It's a threat to injustice. It's a threat to injustice anywhere. A threat of justice anywhere. So if you fight one corrupt individual, you are indirectly also holding to account another corrupt individual.
Exactly.
And so if you are corrupt yourself and you go after another person, you are setting a precedent, and a bad one.
If you live in a glass house, you don't throw stones, as they say. So this is the problem here. If somebody wants to start, putting Mr. Job on a hot seat, start asking questions. You'll start asking about, the audit report at the Ministry of Transport. When all of these schemes that happened when CDK was Ministry of Interior. Other
Ministry of Trade.
The other scandals that happened a few years ago at GAM Petroleum that involved many other. I mean, the list doesn't end. I mean, the question here now is which minister is not part of it? That's the problem. I mean, so we have seen a lot of incidents here where the audit report also shows that mismanagements and questionable activities go all the way to the State House. So the whole government is really complicit in the massive corruption that is ongoing right now.
In fact, in this Russian oil scandal, we are told that, when we were looking into it, we are told one of the people who the order from the top.
Exactly.
Is somebody who is very close to...
from the State House. So and this is not the first time the State House has been mentioned in a corruption activity. Here. The audit report, they mentioned, inappropriate activities at the State. So here, everyone is protected because they are all complicit.
So let's look at some of the other issues that, CD had mentioned in that joint press conference, because it was quite a tense one. And we went into the issue of the recent publication that we've done. Of course, he highlighted that I sent a message, my press inquiry to his personal email, and it was WhatsApp. I, by the way, think that he blocked me on WhatsApp, because when I send him messages on WhatsApp, I have both his numbers. One goes, the other one doesn't, so I don't know. It shows it's delivered.
Of course.
So...
I mean, if I may just add, I remember he made a point about how come you reach his private email. The point here is to reach him. It doesn't matter if you reach his official line or private line. He has a responsibility to keep a record of that in his office, that his interaction with the press. The key here is that you made a best effort to reach him, to make sure that what you were going to publish, he had an opportunity to comment on it. So it shouldn't matter whether you reach his official line. He still has a responsibility. He can document it. Nothing prevents him from documenting that in his official ministerial records, that I have been approached by a member of the press. They asked a question on this particular issue, and this is the response I did. This should be appropriately filed for institutional memory.
You see, this is the questions I sent him on WhatsApp. You see, it's red.
Yes.
It's red.
Yes.
This is one of the lines. I sent it to both lines, and I send these same questions also to his own email. But of course, he has his own. He thought I should send directly to the minister. I'm going to write to him. One, I'm going to request an interview, one-on-one here. And also I'm going to request for the MOU, he said, revenue sharing agreement they had signed with Win-Win.
Okay.
And one of the things I was asking in my head also was, if you are established within the kind of story we are, the kind of facts we have recently exposed in our story, so that means that we own a share in the current Ecotra business, no? Because if he said there is a revenue sharing agreement between them and Win-Win, and Win-Win, the same facility is the one that was transferred to JV, and the same government guarantee was the one that was transferred to JV, then we must have the same revenue sharing agreement, I suppose, with.
Well, it all depends on the MOU, the details. I don't know whether the MOU, foresaw any possibilities of things being transferred to another entity. It all depends on the details of it.
I would write to him to request for the MOU and also request for an interview. But let's look at some of the things that he was talking about. The first thing is the issue of the letter of credit versus overdraft facility. Now, the facts I have, including documentary proof, shows that this facility was charged on the account of Win-Win and later on the account of JV. And the ministry itself, I mean, CD himself, signed a letter. I'm sure probably you might have read the letter that he signed. I mean, some people skipped it in the story, but it's in the story. And in the letter, which CD and his permanent secretary signed, he has called it an overdraft facility himself. Not only the documents, but himself. They themselves, they call it an overdraft facility. And they used a phrase also, repayment of loan. Repayment of loan. Does that suggest that it's a letter of credit?
But suppose it's in fact, personally, I think if you are doing this, of course, you get a letter of credit. But you're trying to import. Basically, a letter of credit is just saying that if the goods arrive, this guy who's at account has the money to pay. Now, that has to be based on something. If you are, let's say, you are an established company. So before we are addressing your question, it's good to clarify things. If you are an established company, you are a bank. You have a relationship bank. For them to be confident that, and to write a letter of credit, they have to have there has to be something there. It has to be based on something. I cannot just walk today and I go to a bank. I say, hey, this bank, give me a letter of credit. I want to import rice or sugar or cars. If I don't have a relationship with them, or they are not confident that I have a business that is profitable, or they have some collateral, they have some legal access to some asset that they can liquidate should there's a problem. So a letter of credit basically is just saying that here is a company, it wants to import this product. And then, we stand behind this company. If you deliver the goods as specified in the contract, he will pay. If he doesn't, we will pay you back. That's what a letter of credit is. Now, in the case of countries like Gambia, where, other countries, other banks, these other exporters abroad may not know much about the companies they are dealing with, or they cannot properly do their due diligence. They'll also go to their bank and say, hey, I got this letter of credit, but I don't know this bank enough to trust it. So a commercial bank in another country will do a confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
They may require confirmation, they may not.
Mm-hmm.
If this is an established business in the Gambia that's importing, it may not even require that confirmation. So that confirmation may or may not be required, but it's not always required. But the point is, for win-win to do, to import something, yes, they'll need a letter of credit in their dealing with whichever supplier they are trying to get the rice from. But the question is, what would make the bank comfortable? This local bank, a mega bank, what would make mega bank comfortable to declare a letter of credit for win-win, knowing that the owner of win-win already wasn't doing a major rice importation business, already had existing unpaid debt with another institution? There has to be something else, and this is where the Ministry of Industry came in. And that overdraft facility that they have played a key role. It played the comfort factor to allow Megabank to issue that letter of credit for win-win. So you can have that letter of credit still being there, but it's not the ministry that the existence of that letter of credit did not take away from the role that the ministry played in making sure that Win-Win was able to get the letter of credit from the bank.
Yeah. So the issue here that so because the information that we've got, and this is what is evidenced in the records, is that the money that was supposed to be used in this entire transaction, these people didn't have that money.
Yes.
So they had, the Ministry of Finance and Trade had a joint venture agreement with the Mega Bank and with Win-Win, and they asked that Win-Win be giving a facility by the bank.
Exactly.
So the bank gave Win-Win the money to be able to purchase this rice. Of course, even though the bank is going to buy it for them, the bank is going to pay for them. When the rice comes here, they sell the rice.
Because Win-Win didn't have the resources.
Yes.
And why would the bank have comfort to do that for Win-Win? Because of the Ministry of Finance and Trade.
Yes.
So for Mr. Keita to talk about, this is not an overdraft facility, it's a lot of credit, it's very dishonest. Because he knows that in order for the good to come in, you have to, this is a standard international transaction, cross-border transaction. You have to have a letter of credit, but that's not the be-all and the end of the story. The bank, in order for it to be confident to issue that letter of credit, for Win-Win to contact any supplier abroad, they must have had this arrangement with the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Industry and Trade. It is the presence of that arrangement that gives the bank the confidence to issue this letter of credit. So the letter of credit part is not, it's a minor part of the story. It's on the same level as any officer of Win-Win just making a phone call. You would have to contact a foreign supplier. But again, what we have here is an official trying to muddy the waters. Instead of really coming out, taking ownership and responsibility of a debacle that they created, they basically trying to muddy the waters, trying to misdirect the public's attention. So instead of talking about the facility and the arrangement that made this possible, this arrangement possible, they basically trying to make this as if it's a simple letter of credit arrangement. A simple letter of credit arrangement doesn't require the government's role. Because there are a lot of companies that are importing rice every single day. The government is not involved.
So in fact, I'm reading the minutes of the meeting of the credit committee of the Mega Bank immediately before the approval. And they are saying here that the company therefore is requesting for an overdraft facility of 230 million to finance the importation of 12,500 metric tons of rice, which is in high demand in the country. The company is in order to urgently curb the spiraling commodity price in the country has thought it wise to order rice in bulk. Okay, so that's what the issue is about. And here, the interesting thing in the addendum that the minister himself wrote, the addendum to the contract that he has, the first contract, you know, when the CD initiated it from the Ministry of Trade.
Trade, yes.
Then Mambure was Minister of Finance.
Exactly.
So Mambure issued the sovereign guarantee. When win-win failed, they need to transfer it to JVCD, was now the finance minister.
Right.
He created the addendum.
Yeah.
And in that addendum, the headline is Addendum Underwriting of Bank Loan to Win-Win Oil Gambia Limited. Underwriting of bank loan to Win-Win. So then they said, we acknowledge receipt of your letter dated 17 May 2022, referenced and caption transfer of overdraft facility of Win-Win to JV, General Trading Import and Export, and other supporting documents. Okay, and they went on to say that the addendum to the underwriting shall remain in force and effect until the repayment of the loan facility. So the repayment of the loan, but the loan that they are talking about is the one that the overdraft that the bank gave to Win-Win. Exactly. So in other words, Win-Win was given the money. When the rice comes, the rice is going to a bonded warehouse. All the warehouses that are controlled by Win-Win. Because in fact, the bank was inspecting these warehouses so that the rice was sold. Yes. And then so that their money will not be compromised. Exactly. But naturally, one of the people who almost all of the people who are involved in these transactions, a lot of them, I know them. I couldn't speak to all of them because some of them don't want to talk to journalists. Right. But I know them because I reviewed all the documents they've reviewed. And some of them told me that the bank is too busy to be involved in this kind of transaction. So ordinarily we had no business in selling rice. Okay, but bank was the credit committee of the bank, the credit unit of the bank. They were going around inspecting these warehouses so that their money will not be messed up. Yeah.
So listen, trade finance is one of my specialities. Yeah. I did research on trade finance for the African Development Bank, the World Bank. I presented on trade finance at the World Trade Organization in Geneva. So this is something I'm aware of, not only on the African in the African context, but around the world. Trade finance in general is considered one of the least riskiest assets of banks. Because in general, when you are working with companies that are very, that have a track record in that area, you wouldn't need to worry, go and check their warehouses, do all of this extra work. It's a very easy business. Basically, a company that comes to you that has been dealing in rice, you know that they have been dealing rice, they are your client for a while, and you know that the product is in high demand, it's almost like money. So when you give a letter of credit, they go and rice comes, in a matter of months, the rice is all sold and you'll get paid back. You wouldn't need to go and check their distribution depots, their distributors, or anything else. It's a self-liquidating transaction, as they say. The fact that in this particular case, the bank has to go to all this extra mile, because under normal circumstances, that bank would not have extended this facility, would not have extended a letter of credit to Win-Win. The amount is simply too large. Their due diligence that they have done.
And Win-Win was not involved in rice importation prior to this.
Prior to this, they were not. Number one, the amount was too large. Number two, their credit risk committee would have quickly flagged that the major shareholder of Win-Win had a bad credit history. And given their lack of track record in this and the fact that the amount is so massive, not only relative to Win-Win and its short credit history, but also relative to the bank's balance sheet, they would have said no. The reason all of this is happening is because the key involvement of Keita's ministry, this underwriting that they have done, basically they took all of the risk. saying that the government essentially took a loan that they didn't declare. Basically, and the fact that this thing, to make matters worse, again, then you have the initial scheme failed because Win-Win couldn't perform. They could not identify a reliable supplier. Because what did Win-Win say? We identified the supplier, but did not deliver, right? They blame the suppliers. What does that tell you? Yeah. You don't know your business very well, because it is your responsibility to go and identify a reliable supplier that will supply whatever you wanted. Most businesses here, the reason why we have rice available all the time is because most of the people involved in the importation of rice, when they go and they do a good job of identifying reliable suppliers. If that wasn't the case, we'll be having rice shortage all the time in the Gambia.
Yeah.
So it means here the ministry failed woefully. When they were selecting, and this came up in the interview, when they were selecting Win-Win, they did not do their due diligence.
Yeah.
If they had done their investigation, Win-Win was not the only Gambian-owned business that could have imported rice.
Or maybe they have an interest in choosing Win-Win.
That's what I'm saying. Eventually, it's going to come to that.
Yeah.
The question is, there were other institutions that were legitimate, that had track record. If you are going to do a pilot, as the minister said he needed to do, a pilot, in fact, it's necessary that you do this in a very clear, transparent process. You make it a very open process. Make so every Gambian involved in importation of rice, you can stick it to Gambians. You can say no foreigner allowed. All Gambians that have the means, the experience and the track record to import rice, please apply. It's going to be a pilot, so we'll select only 2. We are going to see how it goes. If we had done that, I think it would have been very unlikely that Win-Win would have been selected.
In fact, you see, in the last meeting, the head of the Treasury says, this is from the minute, head of the Treasury raised concerns on the timing of the request for the joint venture agreement, the request for the overdraft facility. That if this is an election year and a lot is at stake, though this is a noble initiative, he then asks, in the event there is a change of government and a new cabinet comes into force, how sure are we that the new government will honor this joint venture and the underwriting?
Exactly.
Yeah. So there were concerns being raised by the credit committee, and in fact one of them says that this is approved. We are just being one of them, who is the he's also a member, I think he was a general, I think this should be Buba Sanyang, one of the guy who was fired later on.
Okay.
He said that in the minutes that what his impression is that this is their role is just to whitewash the process. This is already rolled out. He said that this is already rolled out, therefore the committee's deliberation on the facility could just be a whitewash, mere formality. Is it for lack of assessment, sort of? And he asked those questions. And so there are a number of observations that were made. In fact, I met some of them. One of them told me I was in the banking sector for a while. That guy was sacked later on, of course, accused of other things.
Okay.
So he told me I was
from Mega Bank.
Yes,
okay.
He told me I was in the banking sector, but I've never seen this because it came under such kind of a sense of urgency that we didn't have the choice to decide whether or not to go ahead with this.
Yes. Basically, and they had to go with these companies selected that were pre-selected.
Yes.
So they didn't have if they did a credit, even if they did a thorough due diligence on the 2 companies, it doesn't matter. They have to go with those ones. Yeah. So you have to ask yourself, why was Sidike's ministry under Barrow's regime doing this in election year? Were they trying to bring this cheap rice in to influence voters?
Well, the minister pretended that's not part of the reasons, but it does look like, because the goal, they said in minutes that they wanted to bring the rice to $1,000. And I was shocked by that because as an economist, I don't know how you are not in charge of the production. You are not in charge of the transaction moving the rice from here to Gambia. There are all associated costs to everything. And have you done prior due diligence to rise to $1,000?
First of all,
because this never happened in the end.
You have to, in order to, to bring price that level, you pretty much have to control all of the available market. What you are importing in a single scheme, how is that possible to bring the price down when other people are still importing rice? And what you are importing, how much of Gambia's rice consumption would that meet in a single year?
And those other people are established and they have made profit over time, which means they can jack down the prices to destroy you because you cannot afford to make losses on your forced consignment.
Exactly.
Those ones, they've been doing it and accumulated profit over time.
Yeah.
They can afford to make losses.
This just shows, again, as I mentioned before, the sheer incompetence of Keita. This man is incompetent beyond belief. Yeah. Because if he believes that this is a valid scheme that would meet the stated goal of bringing rice, let him tell us how this quantity would meet Gambia's rice consumption needs in a given year.
Yeah.
And keep the price at that level.
Yeah. And also there are alternatives because there are a lot of companies that were into rice importation. Okay? And why was it popularized? Why was it not public?
Popularized, yeah. That's what I'm saying. If you wanted to do this honestly and clearly, you would have publicized it. You can say, okay, no foreigners allowed, only Gambian businesses. There are a lot of legitimate Gambian businessmen who are involved in rice import. They were involved in it before and they're still involved in it. Why not give them the opportunity? By the way, let me make one point. This is important. Syndicator said, when they brought this initiative, they said they wanted to bring Gambians into this business because it's been controlled by foreigners. I want people to be very aware of this point. I have seen many other corrupt cases in the country where when government officials are trying to bring favored and connected individuals, they use this argument.
Yes. Let's help Gambians.
Yes, let's help Gambians. Yes. When they actually mean let's help our friends or connected.
I've seen it in COVID.
Not only COVID, that's another example. One of the ADB finance projects, where corruption happened and a contract was given to someone connected to people in government. Again, instead of opening, here you have the work involves what? Making sure that, farmland is well developed. The ultimate beneficiaries should be the farmers. Those are the ones you should be thinking about. Your goal should be, how can we make sure that the services that the farmers received is the best service, given the value of money we have? It shouldn't be, no, how can we make so Gambian companies benefit in this transaction? No. If it means, if in helping farmers, it means you have to bring an Indian company, so be it. If your goal is to help the Gambian businesses, what you could do here is to say, okay, when those Indian farms come in, let's make sure that they work with some Gambian businesses to make sure that the Gambian businesses have the required expertise. It's also the same, I'm sure you'll find the same reasoning again in the debacle at the Independence Stadium, where the contract was given to somebody because it's a Gambian. Say, oh, we wanted to make sure a Gambian does it. But if the Gambian cannot deliver, now the country is here without a functioning stadium. If a Chinese company needed to do the work at the stadium, do it correctly, give it to a Chinese company.
It's such a warped argument. It's just like the same argument if you transfer it to ethnicity.
Yes.
So, come in your fasa, but so be mem fasa la, bakela president noti, mandin kola madi, o mandin ko e kuku kedra beteat. Bari in your fasa. Like, but he's destroying my life.
I mean that wolen kilimotije. Ni mo milka nyinke ni sindibi. Iko isasata, yes ambalo kano.
Yes.
Iko ibe sasari ne inyande oper lale.
Flora be op.
Ore hani wa wuli ko do iko ko ni wokay lafta like na Gambian doctor be sari njal lafta wolle experience soto. So ni wokay even do nga Chinese doctor soto janani American doctor. Wolle ano bari lafta ka Gambian wolle experience di wolle. Wolbe sonna wala le ba. It is sonna. It be por la je fi.
It is sonna because it will kill you.
Exactly. So e ka jube nebe nyum ko jube le ka jube wonyale. Niya moy wato wade Gambian mansa official ko ha niaje ngadi nyin karila. Laftele pour Gambian ole opportunity soto. Along fania phone in tilimbali yale bi.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I've seen it in COVID.
Ate banna call when corruption so reje e kanyim ko moy
Yeah.
So ni
we try to help Gambians.
Ni ministre Keita lota mol be nyata ay nyimfo ala lonko tilimbali ya biji.
No,
Amu mo corruption ngolti amanke mo tilindi ngoti ndele nga ko sidi Keita amanke drong amala do ko londe amantilim fana. Amantili. Amala do ko long amantili.
I think there is evidence of that. I mean, well, you know, I think a lot of the things he was saying on that press conference.
No, he said a lot of incorrect things in there, and a lot of things that are wrong. You know, economic context me along with the Minister of Finance. Ite nyanta ka olon, ite lota mo nyato yofo, mano nyante falal nila do ko.
Because let's look at even the issue of one of the individuals who was involved in the process. So what he told me was, I am trying to find this. He had made an explicit statement about them paying. So he said, this is the MD of Mega Bank in their minutes. He said, Mega Bank will do the financing and we hold the key to the bonded warehouse where the stock would be kept and would belong to the bank until the facility is fully paid.
Exactly.
Okay? Security to the warehouse will be provided by the government and the goods will be released on payment basis as the price of the rice should not be sold more than $1,000. Does this sound like a letter of credit?
Nah. Well, like I said, that would still be a letter of credit.
There would still be a letter of credit.
As part of the process.
Yes, but this 230 is an overdraft facility.
This arrangement basically is essentially a credit.
Yeah.
That's a guarantee from the government.
Yes,
it's a guarantee from the government.
Exactly.
The letter of credit there is just a formality.
Yes.
To enable the goods to come in.
Yes. In fact, this MD said, MD stated that looking at the request from the development perspective, it is a good initiative, but the risk associated with it is inevitable. He further stated that the payment of the consignment can only be effected once the ship dock in Banjul, in Gambia, with the goods and upon confirmation that it's fit for human consumption. Furthermore, the MD informed members that Mega Bank has a line of credit with the UBAF, that's the bank, for $5 million, and the contract document was sent to UBAF for confirmation, which subsequently received in affirmative. The supplier's bank was also UBAF. So remember, Mega Bank was also providing everything, including
I mean, again, like I said, that whole part about the letter of credit and its confirmation, that is just a standard thing. That's like a diversory issue.
Yeah,
you know, that would, you know, even in any normal transaction where you are importing goods, because you see, the reason why a letter of credit is necessary is the following. If you are just to give a bit of background to listeners. If you are buying a good from somebody abroad that you've never had existing transactions with, you want to avoid the situation where you pay before the goods come, because the goods may never come. They may not come in the quality you want it, or all of them may not, the specified quantity may not come. So how do you protect yourself?
Yeah,
you tell your bank, you tell the seller, you may not know me. I'm a businessman in another country. You may not know me, but here is a bank I've been dealing with. That is a established financial institution. These bank's words mean something. Its words mean something. So this bank's word essentially is what a letter of credit is. Letter of credit will just specify and say, listen, this business here, they've been working with us. If your goods come as specified in the contract, he will pay. If he doesn't pay, we will pay. And this thing happens every day in the Gambia, every day around the world, millions of times. This happens. Now, the reason why a bank would not just issue this for win-win, and they needed all of these safeguards, bonded warehouse, government's role in here, is because on its own, win-win alone wouldn't have gotten that letter of credit from Mega Bank. So there had to be in existence this guarantee facility from the ministry, from the government to the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Trade. This is what, with great reluctance, Megabank relied upon for the letter of credit. But letter of credit on its own wouldn't have been given.
In fact,
by Megabank
now
for win-win.
Here is another thing the MD was saying. The former MD Modun Jai was saying at the time. He said, MD former informed members that the funds will not be released to the customer, but rather to the supplier of the goods. But in any case, if I am paying rice for you, you are having the product. The product is money. Because in any case, when you sell, your profit goes to you, not to me. Of course, CD says there is a revenue sharing, profit sharing arrangement of 30% or 70%. I don't even know why that's the case.
I'm not even sure. So it'll be important for the public. If the minister is going to mention that MOU,
he needs to share it.
We need to share it, and we need to understand, because there may be more to this story. Because, why would, if you are doing this guarantee, you will be taxing this company anyway. But if you're doing this guarantee, I don't understand why that revenue sharing agreement would come in, where it would come in. And did they in fact pay for it? What happened to that? And I don't know.
Because they are supposed to pay according to Public Finance Act if you are issuing that kind of guarantee. But he didn't answer my question, so I have no way of knowing.
And they didn't release the agreement.
Yes, and so I will write to him because this subject we will have to insist on clarity, absolute clarity. And so the second issue is that he says the MD says the requested amount is 230 million. The requested amount of 230 million is above the stock amount, which is the money they were supposed to pay for the rice. So they are paying. The bank was paying for the customer. Because the projected stock amount is $4.3 million, equivalent to $250 million. The excess will be used by the customer for logistics and overhead cost. The expected proceeds from the project is about 250. So you see, CD was saying they had no access to cash. No. So that is why I asked him, so what did the bank, because win-win failed. And when win-win failed, the bank said part of the money that was lost is $15 million. And part of the loss of that is disbursements, arrears and other things. But they said disbursements, and disbursements essentially means the money that was given to them. So you see, they are saying here that that 215 million will be given to them, and 15 million was supposed to be the one that is supposed to be the administrative cost and all these things. So some amount of money is involved in sort of giving them access to that.
So
that's 15 million.
The only question, again, a lot of questions about, what were those disbursements about?
Exactly. So I asked him about that. And also, one of the issues that I was scratching my head around is the issue of the due diligence he was talking about. So if you have the central bank first deputy governor telling you this guy is indebted, even in this minute that I was at, this is the last minute, the last meeting on this subject. Even this minute, they said they made reference to the fact that Kebe owed money to Keystone Bank, which is basically Mega Bank before its name changed. That said, the Kebe actually went to AMRC, which is actually now a unit under Ministry of Finance, to get a letter from them so that the bank can accept him, to say that the letter says that he has agreed to pay back that debt. So this is the institution that is issuing him the facility, and he went back to them to get a letter from them to help him to get the facility. I mean, do you see the...
But you see, this is why, again, CD Keita's performance there was so bad, because he made the effort saying that when we were given this facility, we couldn't do all the due diligence on Kebe, who was the majority owner of Win-Win. Like, in other words, they couldn't be held responsible for for not knowing his background. But you had ample opportunity there's nothing to prevent a government. You had a responsibility. You are dealing with public resources.
Yeah.
You had a responsibility to be good stewards of that resources by doing due diligence. But the bank came and informed you that this business that you selected, the major shareholder there has an existing unpaid debt, and a unit of the government went and issued a letter.
Yes.
Why would you
under him?
Yes. Why would you not just go and make an open process of selecting other Gambians who may be equally or better qualified to be engaged here? Why
and the central bank force deputy governor gives you a red flag on this subject?
So Mr. Sidikeda was, what he was saying here, it was completely wrong, and he knew it.
And so what I didn't even understand, so he went to Kerfatu and he was saying that we should be thankful to to JV for inheriting a liability from Win-Win, essentially, because when Win-Win messed up, some 15 million was squandered. Because that 15 million is not part of the payment for the consignment. That 15 million, like I said, is part of the overhead cost, the administrative cost, and other things.
Yes.
Okay? Because the credit, the facility, the money for the consignment until it arrives is 215 million.
So how come the bank disbursed that 15 million? I don't understand. Before the consignment arrived.
Well, because they were in the process of transacting, so warehouse arrangements and other
things.
Yeah. So you have that. Now, but he was saying that, of course, Amadou all himself said he was part of Win-Win. We will come to that. Because there are documentary proofs of that. Even though Sidi is claiming he was not.
Yes.
So he says, we should be thankful to Amadou for saving the government.
Right.
Because, and this is where also the issue of liability becomes interesting for government. So he says, if Amadou had JV not intervened, government was going to be in trouble. Now, why would government be in trouble?
Yeah. Because you guaranteed it.
Yes.
That guarantee was the one that made this whole thing scheme. So the government will be in trouble because of the guarantee. So you cannot stand before the nation and say there was no guarantee or of any sort. It was just a letter of credit.
Exactly. So the second issue is
he was contradicting himself every single minute of that press conference.
Yes, exactly. And the second issue is, who should we? I asked him this and he avoided it. Who should we have held responsible for this?
The government, the ministry that selected Win-Win.
Exactly. So let's suppose Amadou Sane had come to save the government. Who should we have responsible for that failure, the Win-Win failure?
Exactly.
I asked him that, but he didn't.
No, he wouldn't, because who was the minister who started the whole scheme? Exactly. Keita, and he continued it when he became Minister of Finance.
And the interesting thing is when Amadou, I asked Kebe about this. Was he aware that the Win-Win facility was transferred to JB? He said no, he wasn't. But the interesting thing is when Amadou wrote to Mega Bank,
yes,
he said,
asking to get the facility.
Yes, he said an interesting. He said the collaterals pledged for this facility are from the members of Win-Win. Okay. So he said the collateral, and I saw the names of the collateral. One property in Busumbala, I think, and another property belonging to Mohamed Zini, I think that should be in Kanifing.
Okay.
Those were the ones pledged for this collateral.
And those are from JV?
Amadou, yes, that's Win-Win.
Yes.
Those are from Amadou and Mohamed. So, and they said the collaterals pledged for this facility are from the same members of Win-Win Oil Limited, namely Mohamed Zini and Amadou Sane.
So in other words, Amadou was involved in Win-Win.
Yes.
Even before the facility was transferred.
Yes. And he says, we are ready to take the whole responsibility of the facility, including all damages therein. This is because we have the opportunity for the Japanese rice grant GGC contract for the supply of 100,000 metric ton of rice. Now, here is what I think happened. And this, I have to say, there is no evidence for this. It's just me making sense of what I think happened. Now, because I looked at the GRA's custom importation database, Win-Win is not there in terms of rice, oil, and other commodities. Win-Win is not importing that. In fact, for the period, I looked at Win-Win's importation, but Win-Win is not importing. So between from 2019 to 20 from 20 from 2017 to 2020, win-win imported only in 2018 and 2019, and there was no rice there. There is also no vegetable oil there or anything. Okay, so the idea that, and the bank credit facility says they can only give a facility of this amount for a business that is in its line of business for 1 year. That's one issue. So win-win is not even in their line of business for 1 year. And you could see this is the custom record for win-win's importation. Now you could see this is Argo, this is Moto, I don't know, Moto Spirit. Supers, whatever, other motor cars, and so this in total is 253 million. This is between, okay, so this is 2017 and 2020. Only in 2018 and 2019 they imported. Okay, so they were not importing rice. They were not importing vegetable cooking oil also, according to custom database. So that means that the rice that, and I saw, because the Mega Bank went in for the inspection, and I saw the site visit report. The site visit report actually was in warehouses where rice is. So my suspicion is that rice is the Japanese rice grant. That they were contracted to sell that rice. And so therefore...
this was the rice that the Japanese gave to the...
Yeah, so Japan, Japan as a foreign aid, they give you rice.
Yes.
So you can sell it and actually put it into some development works.
Exactly.
If you want to build a road or if you want to build a hospital or something. So you can sell it. But usually government, they sell this through their trusted contractors. So there is little transparency regarding how these contracts are awarded. So hopefully this is what they were talking about. But in any sense, the point I was trying to make is that Amadou wasn't saving us from win-win. He was part of win-win.
He was,
according to himself.
According to his own communication.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so, and the thing with what CD was telling us is that we should be grateful to win-win, to JV, because JV has come to save us. And I was like, so save us from who? From you?
Yeah.
Because
basically save us from his incompetence.
Yes.
Yeah.
So exactly.
That would actually be closer to the truth. It's not the whole truth, but that would be closer to the truth than just saying save us from other shareholders of, because what he wants to say is Amadou came to save us from Alaji Kebe.
Yes.
And but when in reality, if we are going to talk about saving, and that wouldn't be the whole story. But if we are going to talk about savings, Amadou came to save us from Keita's incompetence.
Yeah. So, and the other issue is, and that's this very interesting, is the issue of, because win-win continued. So win-win, then JV, etc.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and if you look at it, so this is not the only favor JV and etc. has. In fact, in Ecotra's website, they put there, and I put this in the story, they were authorized by the Gambia government. I wanted to sit with Ahmad to understand what he meant by that. Authorized by the Gambia government. Yeah. It's quite a vague language, but it essentially drives point home that they were established by the Gambia government. Yeah. It's almost like a de facto SOE.
Yeah, and if, again, I want to cut to the chase.
Yeah.
If this guy, Amadou, wasn't a nephew of the president, if you and I went and said to any bank, we are authorized by the Gambia government, the bank would ask for documentary proof.
Yeah.
What sort of arrangement did you have with the Gambia government? Where is this supposed authority coming from? All of this is happening because of the president's nephew and his link to the president himself.
And I said, even if, suppose the president is totally unaware, and of course, there's a difference between what I know and what I can prove. And this is true for every member of the Republic or any other investigative journalism platform. There are things you cannot prove.
Yes.
So we know a lot that we cannot prove. But even if nobody around the presidency, in the government, has any interest in this business, isn't it strange that a politically exposed individual was just going to jump in, and now we know for a fact the minister pretends to be totally clueless about it. And even regarding due diligence, he didn't seem to have conducted any significant...
Did not. He actually said they could not be expected to do due diligence. They have to go by only what's on paper. I mean, right there, if a minister says that in front of the public, in any serious government, that minister should be asked to resign or be fired.
And they're sort of trying to push that responsibility to the bank. So he was saying the banks would have done enhanced due diligence because that's what they do on politically exposed persons.
Yep.
But he says the bank would have done that.
Yep.
So he was pushing that responsibility to the banks alone. And the banks did, because the first deputy governor and all the issues he had raised in the letter.
If the bank didn't do enhanced due diligence, why would there be a letter from AMRC for the shareholder of Win-Win?
Yes, exactly, exactly.
And even, if that letter had come in, most banks, I mean, under normal circumstances, would still say no.
Yeah.
Well, you said you have a debt of, from this bank when it was under a different name, of a large amount of millions.
Yeah.
You still saying that I will pay that later.
Yeah.
What does that, what comfort does that bring to the bank that should something go wrong, you'll be able to pay them?
And they said that is separate from, I saw someone making comment who pretended to know this subject more than any one of us. He was commenting on social media to say there is the individual and his credit worthiness and his integrity and everything is separate from this facility, because sort of this facility is foolproof. It's insulated from any kind of harm. This is risk-free almost.
I mean, the very fact that the government is involved means there's huge amount of risk.
Yeah.
Most, like I tell you, the everyday variety trade finance transactions, which is an individual. The reason why you and I today, we go to the market, we can find a shirt, we can find sugar, we can find biscuits, any consumer good, we can find it. It means 90% of the time or 99% of the time, regular trade finance transactions are risk-free because the people involved in this have been in this business for a while. They know whatever they bring in, they know how to sell it, make a profit. That's why these things happen. The letter of credit is routinely given by banks, no government involvement. This is not your garden variety regular trade finance transaction. Because if it were, the banks are not fool. They're not just going to look at an entity. They're going to look at beneficial owners of the company, especially a company with a private company that got created within a few years, not a publicly traded company. You're going to look at the shareholders. That's where your due diligence is. That company could even be 1 hour old. You look at the credit history of those individuals.
In fact, the central bank first deputy governor, this is some of the questions he was asking.
This is what everybody who doesn't want to be complicit or do cover up, this is the reality. You ask anyone, this is what they will tell you.
How about we also decentralize this within many banks? This amount is huge.
Because other banks would say no. This bank, the reason why it has no choice, who owns it?
Government.
Government own it. They cannot force other banks that have shareholders in other countries. If they wanted to bring Standard Chartered in there, they would have said no. If you wanted to force them, they'll close their bank here. If you wanted to force GT Bank or Access Bank or Zenith Bank to be part of this, their shareholders, most of whom are not in the Gambia, and Gambia represent a small part of their portfolio, they would rather close their bank.
We had an interaction one time, and about, I think the last time, I don't know whether this is offline or online, and we were talking about the issue of banks and why they require large collaterals. And you were telling me because banks are not interested in property business. So they wanted to just quickly sell and go ahead.
Exactly.
Because that's what their business.
In general, the collateral they will ask will be a lot more than the facility you are asking.
In fact,
so that if they have to liquidate, they don't have to work very hard.
In fact, at the mega bank, their required level of collateral at the time, based on the credit facility I read, is 150% of it.
Exactly.
So, but here is the interesting thing. So the bank, by this arrangement, was supposed to be in charge of the bonded warehouse, hold the keys, literally being part of the transaction of selling rice.
In other words, they were doing far more than a regular bank would do in a regular trade finance transaction with a regular LC. In those kind of, you wouldn't have to do all, because in the banking industry, trade finance assets are considered very low risk. If you have to go through that extra step that Megabank did, then this is not a risk-free transaction. It's a very risky transaction.
And also we look at even after JV was transferred, JV was name changed to Ecotra. They created a website. Not only did they say it's authorized by the government, but they got another facility. And even after the bank, this was after the bank was sold, and there was a CBG guarantee. And now we see the IMF is telling them, you have CBG, you have to not
stop doing this extra thing. This is not your core mandate. So it just means here we have this self-dealing where you have government institutions helping relatives, direct relatives of the president. This is basically this economic mismanagement, reaching all the way to the State House. Let's face it. Again, Ecotra, JV, are these the first Gambian entities involved in rice business? No. Why are they being...
They were not even in rice.
Yes. But I mean...
They were established into rice business.
Exactly. There are other Gambians things there. Why here? Why give special preference to the president's nephew? It's corruption.
In fact, I called somebody who is close friend of... Because, politicians, you have some honest ones across political parties and across... There are very honest people in government. I deal with them all the time. I contacted one person who I wanted to have a conversation with me on this subject. He's a member of NPP. And he told me I don't want to do it because I don't want to lie. And I understood. He was very upfront. I don't want to do it because I don't want to lie.
Exactly.
Because he knew that this is...
No, it's a dirty thing.
It's preposterous.
The storyline that Keita is just spewing in front of the public, most other people, even who are part of the government, probably even if you put a gun to their head, would not come and repeat this because they know it doesn't add up.
But there are inconsistencies. Shouldn't it even be the case that even if you are going to do this, for a matter that requires somebody of a political exposure, especially one who is close to the president, should you not excuse such people in this kind of...
Listen, if you are going to do, corruption, corruption is bad in and of itself. But even if you are doing something cleanly, the perception of corruption, you need to make sure that you don't even create the perception of corruption.
Yes.
If you are a clean government that is not involved in corruption, you wouldn't even want to give something that gives off a whiff of corruption. So in this case, again, this is not the only company that is engaged in rice importation. Even if it is very competent in doing this, you need to make sure that this is open to other businesses. The president's nephew has ample opportunity to have profitable business lines in other things. It doesn't have to be in this. If you are clean and you want to be, you don't want to be involved in corruption, you wouldn't want the president's nephew, where he's a shareholder owner, to be involved in this scheme.
And there is something they do all the time. Government, I see even from politicians, people who got into politics. Instead, they made it look like we are comfortable, we have a lot of money, we don't need to do this, okay? So therefore, they cannot be corrupt. That, go and read about me. And you see this, people make impressions like this, right?
Exactly.
But when we see folks like Elon Musk is the richest man in the world, he bought the whole US government, brought Donald Trump to power so that he controls government. Like richest people in the world are corrupt.
No, the point here is that having money doesn't insulate you from doing wrong. Having money doesn't create virtue, doesn't create principles. These are things you earn, and it's part of your core personality before you become rich or before you become government. Which is why it's not just sufficient listening to what politicians are saying. A politician just cannot tell you, just because I am rich, I will not be corrupt. That's not true. There is no shortage of rich and corrupt officials in power. What is key here is looking at their track record before they reach positions of power. This is very important. especially if politicians have been in public spotlight, have been engaged in other activities. This is why banks, when they do due diligence, they look at your track record.
Yeah.
Do you have good credit history? It's not enough for me to come to a bank and say, hey, give me money. I'm rich. I have compound. Yeah. You know, in other countries, you have credit reporting agencies. Your biggest collateral is your credit history. That is your track record of taking loans and paying them back. This is far more valuable than you having assets that are worth millions, because banks only want to sell your asset as last resort to recover their financing. In fact, they don't want to do it. That's not their core functions. They are not built to sell assets. I mean, they're not built to sell people's physical assets or compounds. They only as a last resort. In fact, if you default on your loan, they will try to restructure your loans, try to do all sorts of things to enable you to have a payment plan.
Yeah.
So when it comes to whether politicians or borrowers of a bank, your track record is the key thing. So when a politician stands before you or before people and talk about the fact that I have money, that is not sufficient. That is fine to know. But many millionaires want to become billionaires. Billionaires want to become multi-billionaires. So in and of itself, having money, it is not a guarantee that somebody will not be corrupt. What will be corrupt? I mean, what will be credible here is their track record.
Is their track record.
Exactly. Yeah. Their track record in how they've conducted themselves, their affairs before they came into positions of power in government.
So on this matter, I mean, I've held you for too long. It's already 2 o'clock. On this subject, finally, what do you think is the way forward? What should the government do? I mean, if they are saying there is nothing wrong and everything went by the book, everything is okay, why are they not calling for an audit or a special audit of some sort?
Well, I can tell you what I think they should do, and I can also tell you what I think is likely to happen.
Okay.
If what they should do here is, have a clear audit of this, release all of the documents. This is public resources, public money. You cannot tell me that because it's a private company, we are subject to some confidentiality. Every company that is dealing involved in a scheme, this comes with the territory. When you are dealing with public services, it should be scrutinized because it's public money. This money is not owned by Keita or anyone in government or owned by Adama Barrow. This is Gambian people's money at stake. The goal that they said they wanted, they failed. They said they wanted to bring the price of rice to what?
1,000.
And did it happen?
No,
it did not. So they failed.
Yeah.
You had government, public resources at stake. Your selection mechanism failed. You select somebody who couldn't deliver. At the very least, there should be some inquiry into it, release everything so that public can scrutinize. Do an audit. But of all of the things that needed to happen again, people who are involved need to be held accountable. Now, the question is, do I think that this will happen? Obviously not. This is the same government a few weeks back removed the Auditor General illegally in contravention of what's in the Constitution and in the NAO Act. They don't care. The government is corrupt. From all the way, this corruption reaches all the way to the State House. So a corrupt government like we talked about here, nobody has an incentive in that government to bring scrutiny in any one area, because then the questions might be asked in the area that you are in. So what should happen here is clear, but we know it won't happen. The only solution here is in the hands of Gambians. This government needs to be voted out of power. We will only know the real truth when the new government comes and do a careful audit and investigation into this matter. But it will not happen under President Adama Barrow.
Yeah, of course, we will have to have a special, we did have a session, but we will have to have a special session on what sort of alternatives Gambia could we have, because the idea of also removing Barrow also comes with, so if you remove Barrow, then what?
Who will be there?
Yeah,
this is very important.
That's the most important question, and often you just have people insisting, oh, Barrow has to go, Barrow has to go, but then so what? This is very important. Barrow has to go, but that's only part of the solution. That's only part of the issue,
The other important part is, once Barrow is removed, who do we replace him with? And in this selection, in determining who should be replacing him with, we shouldn't just be listening to what politicians are saying. We need to do a careful examination, due diligence on their track record, their ability, their understanding of the problem, sincerity, but their ability also, their ability to understand what's happening in every area of the government. You cannot go and learn on the job.
No.
You have to hit the ground running. Existing name recognition shouldn't matter. Nobody's born to do this job, and nobody is predestined for it. People should be, everyone, including me, our ability, our background, everything should be scrutinized, and the Gambian people can determine. At the end of the day, we have to remove Barrow, but then let's put somebody else who will make sure that these problems that are happening right now, we don't get a repeat.
So here is the other issue, and that's just one thing that's the final issue we will have to discuss before we leave. It concerns me a lot because I'm in the field of anti-corruption, and I see corruption has now become a sort of an entertainment for the people. So they go online just to see that a minister did this or a public officer did this, and they're entertained by it. And it's as though it's enough to just criticize Barrow using that. Like, we are not concerned. Like, because when you see wrong, it's not about using it to castigate Barrow. You should be concerned because it's your money. Do you feel that too?
No, I mean
that it's become an entertainment of some sort.
Yeah. I normally would tell some people, like, we will talk about how bad things are. And of course, I will acknowledge, I'll say, we know things are bad, but let's do something about it. And let's be honest, obviously, not everyone has the same ability to do things about it. And people have different rules. You have people in civil society who are bringing awareness of what government should do. You have people in the media who are exposing this. You have people in independent offices in government who are doing their part. You have other people who are entering politics. You have people who are engaging in their private business. The key here is we need to realize everyone has a role to play, not the same role. The key here, what we cannot do is what you said here. It will be a big mistake if people think that it's just a source of entertainment. No, this is our future. This is the future of our youth. This is the future of our children. The money that is being, in any corruption involved here, you are talking about public resources. And Gambia is poor. People are having difficulty feeding their families. Young people are looking for jobs they can't have. Some of this money here that is used for guarantee, or the money that the rice that is coming from Japan that is given to the president's nephew's business to run, the resources from there could be pumped into the rice sector. The point here is that we need to talk about what's happening. But anytime we talk about it, we need to think about what we are doing about it. Some of you what you are doing right now, you are doing the best you can by spending a lot of your time and resources digging into these issues. Because some of this investigative report, this took months or years for you to dig into these things. So you are doing your part. I believe, I'm doing my part in other ways because I can live comfortably in doing my business or doing consulting or going back to my international job. But I have decided here that we need to give the Gambian people an option for a credible replacement here. Now it's up to the Gambian people December next year to make their decision, whether it's me or somebody else. Other people, again, are doing their part. The youths in Gala, they are doing their part. They are bringing awareness about this issue, forcing the government to respond. So they are doing their part. So as much as other people are not using this as entertainment, I'm really optimistic and hurting that there are a lot of people that are doing their part. We have civil society that are also doing their part. These are the other, I would say, let's focus on these other entities that are doing their parts. Let's give them the encouragement and the recognition that they need. Hopefully, other people who are thinking of this as entertainment, they can see that there are better ways of addressing it.
Inshallah. Thank you so much for coming up today, joining us. It's taking a long time, and we've gone through a lot of issues. Of course, It's the verified, and with me, Mustafa Keita and Dr. Usman Gajigo. Thank you so much for being there with us all through this period. Have a good week.